Evening. He's on the line. Good afternoon, Councillor Rob, and welcome to the Long Lunch.
Hello, Nora. What an introduction. I feel special.
Feel special, you are. It's good to have you on board. Councillor Rob, I realise Council do need to determine potential future land use planning and development, and there are many floodways and high hazard ratings. However, the possibility of future risk and further damage and trauma to residents, I feel, needs top priority. Do you feel, Councillor Rob, that Lismore City Council residents in, say, North and South Lismore and other flood-affected areas are being considered as a top priority in this floodplain management group? Because you sit on that group, don't you?
Yeah, the Floodplain Risk Management Committee has been going for years. Its purpose is to establish a floodplain risk management plan. We've had troubles doing that in recent years because it never got past the study stage, because each time it gets close as another flood event, and it needs to be updated after each one. Now, interestingly, what you said about the damage occurring again and again, that was an issue raised at the protest today at the Northern Rivers Reconstruction Corporation offices.
I want you to talk about that, because it's also assumed that the NRRC will become part of the New South Wales Reconstruction Authority this year, and so a transition's going to take place. But they haven't produced a plan as required by the Act Section 23, and that's a business plan, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and I'm glad you raised that. So a lot of people are screaming for information, and I've been pursuing this since they were announced. I think it was back in March or something, at SCU, and then ever since they were created from the 1st of July, I've been asking for what's called the Section 23 plan. And for those listening, it's under the Growth Centres Development Corporations Act 1974. That established the Reconstruction Corporation. It requires an annual statement of business intent, and that needs to be at least 1 year going forward. And that's supposed to include such things as objectives of the corporation, intended nature of its activities, including intended scope, performance targets, accounting and reporting policies, etc. That's everything that everyone really wants to know and what they're asking for. And I've been asking, and I recently got a response saying, oh no, we haven't prepared anything under that Section 23 because we've only been going since the 1st of July.
Last year. That's plenty of time, isn't it?
Yeah, but I believe they've interpreted that as being like a council annual report for the previous years, whereas the legislation reads that it's a statement of intent, which is for the next year.
Yeah.
So it's quite interesting. It actually says over the following year, so not the previous year. And anyway, if we get that report, or if they focus or not focus, if they prepare a report, that will answer a lot of questions and give direction. And I don't know any business or corporation or government body that doesn't, or they shouldn't, if they don't plan. And there's that old saying, businesses don't plan to fail, they fail to plan. And this is a good example. With billions of dollars at their reach, they need to plan it.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that the message was heard this morning at the rally that took place in Military Road, East Lismore? You were there,
absolutely.
Weren't you?
Yeah. Absolutely not. The gate in Military Road was chained and locked up, and the office from the side street, Daly Street, where they did set up the protest, or the rally, I should say, was all boarded up. Or not boarded up. The windows looked like they were shuttered, and the office was locked, and no one was there. So, and there were police there, because I'm hearing rumours that Extinction Rebellion apparently made a few threats to come and raid through the offices during this rally. So it was all locked down and shut down, and it was a peaceful rally. It was good. And we could hear what the community wanted. Which is what we've been all wanting, and that's to reduce risk, and that's hopefully what we're going to get into tomorrow during the Floodplain Risk Management Committee meeting. Good.
Well, they were demanding transparency and socially just development interventions to take place by the Northern Rivers Reconstruction Corporation. And yes, I would like to think that something will come out of that rally, even though it didn't proceed maybe as everyone wanted it to. Sometimes, Councillor Rob, those meetings you have, there's so much on the agenda. I'm sure it's necessary for you always to carry over to the next meeting. It must be frustrating at times, but how do you as a council come together, given that delay in eventually producing an effective outcome to the agenda?
Well, see, what people, I think, forget or don't realise is that council operates and has to keep the doors open, the lights on, and everyone moving along normally, as if there wasn't a flood. Then when there's an event like a flood, that's another layer that's added to the workload. It's not something everyone, like I've heard comments in the last year, why is Big Rob putting that in motion? You know, we need to be focusing on this. Well, yes, we do need to be focusing on that, but we also need to be doing these other things to keep things operating, because as we can see, our CBD is looking messy and untidy because they're not doing the clean-ups, the normal stuff that we normally do. So we need to not only do what we normally do, we need to step it up and take on the extra, which is a disaster recovery. So it's not one or the other. And this is what it's hard to get across to people, because they only look at what's most concerning to them. And it's normal human behaviour to say, well, hang on, I need my drain fixed, or I need my house moved. So this is what you should be doing 24/7. Well, it doesn't work like that. We have to put motions in, and a notice of motion has to be in 2 weeks before a meeting. You know, we can try and put urgency motions, but they can only be heard if they're urgent. All these sort of there's rules of the process that we have to follow, and if we don't have it in within 2 weeks or by 2 weeks before the meeting, we cannot get it in there unless it's an urgency thing. So there's all these procedural things we have to follow, and there's also rules and regulations of what we can and can't do.
Of course.
And we're not the NRRC. That's a state level, state government level thing. The only involvement that we had to date with that was that Hepburn Park and Clifford Park, which were refused as community parks. But we're trying to get one of the over 200 blocks of land that the private owners have put forward, trying to get the NRRC to move on that. And if they move on that, then it should address most of the concerns that many people have.
Well, just getting back to my mention of the agenda and how it must be frustrating for all of you on council to think that, you know, you have to be carrying things over all the time. Can you give us some insight on what the agenda will be at tomorrow night's meeting of council? It's an extraordinary meeting, isn't it?
Yeah, tomorrow night's meeting is one that most people won't want to know about, except the diehards, because tomorrow night is only financials. It's an extraordinary meeting because we had our deadline extended to the 31st of January because of the floods, to try and get our finances in order for the last financial year. So the auditor, the reports have to be audited and signed off on, and et cetera, et cetera. So the auditor's going to be there, and we're going to be able to speak, I think, ask questions to the auditor about our reports. So if there's any queries or concerns that anyone might have, they might want to get them to a councillor before tomorrow night. I think the audited reports are available on online on your site, or they're on the council website somewhere. Or if people can't find them, contact me and I'll send you a link. I'll find it for you. But yeah, if you have any questions that you want council to ask, put it through. And but we have questions, like, you know, I mean, I've had most of my questions answered through briefings and things like that, and in previous council meetings. But this is where we need to make sure we're right, because we have to adopt this report. And then there's, I think, still 7 days after tomorrow where the public can make submissions that will go to the Auditor General if they need to address something that's in there that we've missed.
What do you think? Oh, sorry. Yes, go on.
No, I was going to say, so there's a bit of time to try and address any discrepancies or errors, you know.
What's been the greatest achievement of Lismore City Council, say in the past 6 to 12 months that you've been on board there? What's been the greatest achievement? Can you reflect on something?
Well, it's a bit difficult because it's been gobbled up with always putting things off to the NRRC. Like, one of the big ones is obviously the two resolutions on affordable housing going through Landcom. So one of them may not see the light of day, but the other one definitely will. So we need affordable housing, so that's a big one. The other one that I'm very proud of that hasn't been actioned yet, though, is the increasing the pump capacity in the CBD, because that will address a lot of the drainage issues and the flooding issues in East Lismore as well. So the northern side of East Lismore from Gully Street floods back from the CBD, and when the drains block up. So if we can try and address that problem, that will reduce a lot of impact in the smaller floods and some of the bigger ones on East Lismore, which gets hammered when there's a big heavy downpour in that catchment area. And there's going to be an interesting discussion tomorrow about a potential new levy at Monaltry, which I'm very excited about, because I think it's amazing planning, and that's come from former councillor Bill Morehouse. So I can't wait to hear more about that and see it in more detail. I've looked at it closely and I really like it. And I think that'll help the southern side of East Lismore. And we're going to do a lot. We're going to talk a lot more about the drainage issues over in south and north or south mainly, but because there's problems there because it's so flat. But these are the big ones, and I know a lot of people think we're not doing anything, but I can tell you, more than 90% of what we do is behind the scenes.
Yes.
It's so much of it. We do what's called council requests every week. Some councils are very active. Like Councillor Bing, for example, you don't see him speak much in the council chamber during council meetings, but that guy is relentless in the back behind the scenes, getting the place cleaned up and roads fixed and all sorts of things. Electric Jensen, Councillor Jensen, they work hard behind the scenes. It's incredible to see.
And if anyone's got any questions they'd like to put to you, Councillor Big Rob, where do you suggest we direct those inquiries to regarding the council? To your Gmail at council, do you think?
We don't have Gmail. No, so if it's a council thing, it comes through our councillor email address.
Okay.
So all of our email addresses are just our first name dot surname. So mine is big.rob, and then it's just at lismore.nsw.gov.au. All those details are available on the councillor web. If you type in Lismore City Council councillors contact, it'll come up in Google.
Yep.
And on mine, I have my mobile there. People can contact me by mobile if it's council business. I don't need any more stalker calls. I get lots of them already. I don't want any more. But if it's about council, I'll talk to anyone.
Fabulous.
Email me or call me.
Councillor Big Rob, and the effect that you have, we're going to hear from you again next Monday. I thank you for this afternoon's input, and have a good meeting tomorrow night in council. I hope it doesn't go too long.
No worries. Thanks, Nora.
Okay, bye.